What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Filling in the Gaps. How's it going, everybody? Let's just kind of wait because there's probably nobody here. What up, Dubs? I see you, Dubs. How's it going? What's up? What's up? All right. How's it going, everybody? Dubs is in the house. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Amanda, how's it going? Welcome, welcome, welcome. You guys, we are streaming in vertical and horizontal. So if you don't like your view, you can come to my page and just click on one of the lives and it'll take you to the horizontal. So make sure that you pick the right one. Natalie, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's it going? Leah, what's up, Leah? Long time no see. I know, it's been a minute, right? How have you guys been? We're on super late. So we're just hanging out. We're hanging out. And sorry for everybody who's on like East Coast time. It's like super late. We're all just hanging out. We'll give a few minutes for people to check in. I haven't been on in a while, so, you know, we're probably not going to have a large group in here. But anyways, how's everybody doing? Dubs is here. We got Amanda. Natalie's here. Gold Digger's in the house. What's up, Gold? How are you? I see Jad's here. How's it going, Jad? Hello, hello. So how many of you guys have been keeping up with everything? All the way from Australia. Okay. Australia is in the house. Welcome, mate. So, how many of you guys have been keeping up with all the news that's been going on today in the David trial, the case that everybody's been waiting for? We got a few updates for you, but we have a few things lined up. So we'll check out a video from Law and Crime, and then Trapmore Ross has a video that we'll probably take a look at too. But do me a favor, if you guys are just joining in, you guys are just tuning in right now, hit that like button. If you guys haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you a part of our team. It's been a minute and it feels good to be back. So to everybody who's here hanging out, thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The one case you're not following, so you'll stay on for the updates. Well, I appreciate that, Natalie. Thank you so much. And hopefully we can provide you with as many updates as possible. But yeah, we'll just kind of wait for this song to die out and then we'll just jump right into it. We have a video from Law and Crime that we'll basically just kind of take a look at. Innocent Killer, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. Long time no see. How you doing? But yeah, let me go ahead and pull this video up right over here because we do have a video from Sidebar with Jesse Weber, and he's going to basically just, you know, provide everybody with some of these updates. I have not been able to follow with all of the details today, but I did hear that the preliminary hearing and another status conference has been pushed back to July. So we're waiting. It's going to be a waiting game. And I'm hearing that July 21st is one of the dates, right? I'm doing good, Innocent Killer. Thank you so much. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Can't complain. But let's go ahead and get right into it, you guys. Let's go ahead and see what updates they have.
Accused child murderer David was back in court today for a status conference, a key meeting before a major reported multi-day preliminary hearing that was supposed to happen in 2 weeks. Although, what happened today? What happened in court?
Oh, isn't that a beautiful sketch of him, huh? Okay, so they got new sketches of him. Mona Edwards. Shout out to Mona Edwards for the court sketches.
What do we learn? What can we expect from the prosecution and the defense?
So yeah, July 7th, they're going to have another status conference to make sure that everybody is good and ready to go. And it looks like July 21st is going to be when we actually proceed with this trial. I feel like after today, it seems like the prosecution and the defense team are more than ready. But I guess we'll just kind of have to wait and see. So let's see what Jesse Weber has to say about all this.
Also, how did the romantic homicide singer look and act? Breaking it all down with a reporter who was inside that courtroom. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, we just had a new hearing in the David case, just wrapped up this status conference.
Hey,
The
Anna,
sides coming together with the judge, determining where we're at in the case, what's going to happen. Now, I'm going to give you a little preview. We were supposed to have a preliminary hearing on June 29th, and it's reportedly going to be a few days. This is when the prosecution will present the evidence that they have. Maybe not all the evidence, but enough evidence to say, hey, judge, there's sufficient probable cause to support the charges and for this case to go to trial. That's what a preliminary hearing is. The defense has an opportunity to challenge the evidence. Now, I say that, but you're going to hear how the timeline got a little tricky today based on what happened in court. Now, David is currently charged with first-degree murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14, and unlawful mutilation of human remains, all in connection with the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Remember back in September 8th, 2025,
Joanne,
that was the day
Welcome.
after what would have been Celeste's 15th birthday. Her dismembered, decomposed body is found reportedly in the front trunk of a Tesla, allegedly registered to David, at an LA tow yard. At the tow yard, LAPD detectives apparently opened the Tesla's front storage compartment.
Okay, so obviously Jesse Weber is just going to give you a quick recap. Everybody who has been following along with this case is more than familiar with everything. But if you're not, Jesse Weber is going to give you a breakdown really quick to catch you up to speed.
And found a black cadaver bag that was covered with insects. Inside the bag, they reportedly discovered a severely decomposed head and torso. There was a plastic garbage bag beneath the black cadaver bag that reportedly contained the dismembered arms and legs. Now, it was also reported that Celeste's ring and pinky fingers on her left hand had been amputated, that they were not found in this car. But prosecutors,
and they still haven't been located or found till this day. So her index finger on her left hand and her pinky finger have still not been recovered.
Allege that David was in this illegal sexual relationship with Celeste, that he lured her to his rental home out in LA on April 23rd and stabbed her to death, allegedly watched her bleed out, and then reportedly took horrifying measures to conceal this alleged crime. They claim that he allegedly purchased a blue inflatable pool, chainsaws, a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, that he dismembered her body. They claim that he made suspicious trips out to the Santa Barbara County area, that he allegedly lied to friends and associates about the smell of purported decomposition in his place. And we know that on April 16th, 2026, he was arrested. When you go to the criminal complaint, it also includes these special circumstance allegations: murder of a witness, murder for financial gain, lying in wait, as well as a special allegation that he personally used a deadly and dangerous weapon, a sharp instrument, to commit the crime. So the prosecutors alleged that he killed Celeste to prevent her from coming forward, seemingly about their relationship, which would have cost him his career, to silence her. That is what makes this a capital murder case, those special circumstances.
And it's funny, right? Because now everybody is referring to this case as a capital murder case. And obviously it's because of the special circumstances that have been added on, the lying in wait. What are the other charges? Let me see. Lying in wait. What do we have? Because obviously it's first degree murder, but the lying in wait, continued sexual relations with a minor, and what's the third one? I can't remember what the third one. If you guys remember the third one, let me know in the comments. It's slipping my mind right now.
Circumstances allegation.
Mom, thank you so much for your $20 super chat. We appreciate you. Thank you. I'm supporting, but it's really late night all. Thank you so much, Coco Mom. We appreciate you. Thank you.
So the death penalty is potentially on the table, but we also know that there hasn't been an execution in California for years. There's a moratorium on executions. Quick snapshot of the background. Now I want to talk about what happened today. Okay, so let me bring on somebody who was in that courtroom today. She's outside the courthouse right now. NBC LA reporter Julia Deng. Julia, thanks so much for coming back here on Sidebar. Before we get into the substantive issues about what happened today, I understand it was a quick hearing, but important nonetheless. How did David look? How did he look compared to the last time you saw him?
I'm so glad, Jesse, you opened with that question, because that was actually the first thing I texted your producers. It was the first thing I noticed. He did not look great. I mean, he came in.
Yeah, they got to fix her microphone. She sounded a little loud over there.
Clean shaven. It looks like he may have gotten that haircut his attorneys requested. but he didn't look good. He looks like he hasn't slept properly in days. He's got bags under his eyes. He looked kind of rumpled. He was wearing the regulation orange jail uniform he had on last time.
So Raina says prosecution has a witness that was there, and that's why it was said stood there and watched her bleed out. This person is getting immunity. Well, I think it's going to be a sight to see. It sounds like prosecution had some tricks up their sleeve, and apparently they went into this secret little meeting with the judge, and they went into the chambers and had their discussion behind closed doors, and it looks like they kind of came to an agreement on a date, and it looks like the date is pending if there's the availability of a particular witness. And now at this point, we don't know who this witness is going to be, but it was kind of shocking and alarming for all of us to kind of learn that they want to bring a witness in. So people are wondering, is this going to be an expert witness? Is this going to be an eyewitness who was potentially there for some or part of the crime? So I think it's going to be really, really crazy. We're going to be learning a lot in the next couple of weeks.
But the white undershirt this time, it was just really disheveled. Here's the thing, though. This is David we're talking about. He is so comfortable.
Now that, I don't know, that court sketch does not really look like David. It looks like his hair is just kind of grown out. In some of the photos that we've seen before, the court sketches we've seen, it kind of looks like his hair might have been like slightly twisted. I don't know, but this just kind of looks like his hair's, I don't know. Does this look David-esque? Not really sure. What do you guys think that he looks disheveled by this court sketch?
Here's the thing, though. This is David we're talking about. He is so comfortable in front of cameras, in front of people on stages. He came in, he sat down in front of the judge really, right? Like he owned that courtroom, and he started nodding and smiling at people. He didn't speak much. He just said, "Yes, Your Honor," to acknowledge her questions when she asked if he was okay with essentially delaying this case further. But he was very engaged, very active, making eye contact with the judge, nodding and smiling throughout. And this really caught my attention. Near the end of this very short hearing, really the court proceedings only went on for about 4 minutes, we caught David and his defense attorney smiling at each other. This really appears to be part of the defense strategy to just keep on delaying. So he may have gotten out of this hearing today feeling like they notched some kind of win before this even goes to trial.
And I want to talk about that. Little 180. I got to tell you about a sponsor of ours.
And you're right, Goal, right? I did hear that today, that it did look like he was quite confident. Heard that he was looking around. This time he was looking up and looking at the crowd of the people that were in the courtroom, which is the first time that he's done that since this case has gone to the court. So I don't know what strategies the defense has lined up, but it seems like David might be growing a little bit of confidence as the days go by. They said that his white undershirt under his orange jumpsuit looked disheveled, but he was exuding confidence. Yeah, I know there were a few people there. I know Mark the Shark was there. Trapmore Ross was out there. So we're going to be able to take a look at some of their stuff and see what they had to say. We'll take a look at it after this sidebar video.
Look, the truth is the summer's here. And for me, it's about quality over quantity. Where you were, it returns. Just to set the scene a little bit, right? Context of where you were. Was there anybody there for David? Was there family there? Were there friends there? Were there any known associates there? Was there anybody from Celeste's family there? I mean, what was the scene like in the courtroom?
Not that I'm aware of. I did not see anyone sitting in the courtroom this morning who was easily identifiable as friends, families, or supporters of either the defendant or his alleged victim. But the back two rows were completely filled. Those were seats set aside for us journalists covering this case. And then ahead of us, I think about 1.5 to 2 rows were filled, and those were spectators. I spoke with a couple of them, just people from around LA who have been interested in this case, who have been following it. Nobody was really taking it.
I'm sure a lot of those people that were in front of the mainstream journalists were a lot of the content creators. So I don't know why they're not referring to them as content creators, but who knows? Maybe there were just a ton of just random people who have been following the case that were, just wanted to see what was going on.
Side, no one said anything about being personally connected to either David or Celeste. So no, we didn't see family, but David was definitely just holding court on his own. Again, walking out of this hearing smiling.
Again, before we go into what happened today, for people who don't know, when you talk about the condition, right? When you talk about the way David looks, where has he been? Like, what are the conditions that he's living in right now? Because he's locked up.
I mean, he is in the county jail. He is behind bars, and everybody there is now aware of what he has been.
Of course, he's behind bars. He's been there since what, April 16th when he was arrested. It's not like he's getting a white glove treatment, right? He's behind bars and he's not enjoying life.
Charged with. It's not just first-degree murder. It's first-degree murder on top of continuous sexual abuse of a child under the age of 14. And then on top of that, after he's accused of stabbing Celeste to death and abusing her sexually, he's accused of mutilating her corpse. So just imagine what other inmates must feel about having a neighbor like that. I know
I'm sure they want a piece of them, right? I mean, that's why they have them segregated and away from all of the rest of the inmates, because I promise you, if they ever put him on general population, there's not a chance that that he's gonna make it out alive. That's just my personal opinion. That's why LAPD, that's why the police have made sure that they keep this guy away from the general population. Anybody that's behind bars too, they are not going to get close to this guy.
Rumors have been floating around online about the nature of his imprisonment right now. He did have bail denied, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Good. I'm glad that they have continued to deny his bail. I'm sure his defense team is going to continue to work on it, but they said that somebody came to visit him. Is that so? Wow. That's the first time I've heard that. That's crazy. Okay, well, I mean, who knows? Could be a friend, right? I think time will tell. And then Jad said, I heard fans are putting money into his spending account. I heard that too, but I don't know if it's correct or not, but I heard that they only have like a certain limit that they can have on their books. And the numbers that I heard was 300. Somebody tried depositing like 500 to his books, but I don't know. We don't know. There have been screenshots that were on Reddit, but I don't know how accurate and real those are. So who knows? I think it's something that we got to wait and see. But, I guess he just wants his top ramen.
But I can only imagine what those daily conditions are like. He's allowed to shower reportedly once every other day.
Yep.
He's allowed to make phone calls only on those days. So this is somebody.
And he probably gets time to go play outside, right? Get a little bit of that little itty bitty sunlight. So, yeah, he's not doing much. He's spending a lot of time inside those cell walls.
Who had celebrity status. He had a following of several million. He had a multi-million-dollar career in the works. He had sponsorship deals. He was touring. He had an album coming out. And now he's wearing this orange jumpsuit. He is behind bars. And he is probably up against.
You guys seen that one court sketch where he's sitting next to his team and they just made him look like really, really tiny. They made that man look short, man. They made him look really small compared to his defense team.
Behavior that has him staying up every night. And that's why he came in today looking like he has not slept in days. I wish we could have cameras in there because it wasn't just his demeanor that captured my attention. It was his face. This is not the same David we saw in his mugshots, in his promotional photos on tour. This is a very different David Anthony Burke. Now,
sort of what the evidence is from the prosecution. We were hoping to get a better sense for a preliminary hearing that was supposed to happen.
That's right. Orange is the new black. That's right, Gold. They denied the motion for him to wear any kind of dress-up clothes for the status conference, and potentially, I'm assuming that they're going to deny him for the preliminary hearing. Who knows? They might file another motion, so then that way he could dress to the T, right? I don't know. And then the whole question is this going to be televised once this actually goes to trial? I think that's something that the public is waiting to find out, because we all want to make sure that there's transparency in this case. And, you know, we don't have to leave it up to reporters' words, right? And we can just kind of interpret what we see for ourselves, and not just take the word of what could potentially be a biased reporter.
Happen in 2 weeks, but I'm going to give you the floor right now. You're in this courtroom. You're at this status conference. It's supposed to be like, where are we at in the case? What exactly happened today?
It got delayed again. In a nutshell, Jesse, it got pushed back yet again because the defense wants to keep on delaying. So I love coming on your podcast, but we're going to have to do this again in July after we just did this in May. So the status conference is one part of the preliminary hearing process here in California. So we just did this May 12th. It was supposed to be a preliminary hearing May 26th. That ended up getting moved. So then it was status conference today, June 17th, preliminary hearing June 29th. Now that date, the 29th of June, that's been canceled. We're going to do another status conference July 7th now. And then there's supposed to be a preliminary hearing on July 21st. But I would not be surprised at this point if this gets continued or delayed again.
I know First Liberty's podcast, Joe's in the chat, and he is telling everybody that this is going to be pushed back all the way to early 2027. So, Joe, do you still stand by that? Do you still feel that we're not going to get an actual trial until early 2027?
Yeah.
And Julia, why did that happen, right? It has something to do.
So Coco Mom says, my son says county jail seg is a cakewalk for him. Well, I mean, you know, he's going to be by himself, right? He's going to be out of harm's way. I don't think they're going to allow any kind of mishaps to happen, especially before it goes to trial, right? They're going to make sure that he is alive and well to stand trial and that he can go through it, right? So I think we're going to be good. I think he'll remain safe and out of harm's way, right? And I really hope and pray that he does, because I think it's only fair that he does go through this whole entire process. He gets due process and, you know, let the courts and the jurors decide his fate. But I will say that I do want to know what goes on in that courtroom. So California, the city of Los Angeles, please televise this trial. I think the world wants to see it, and I think it's only fair. Yep. So Joe says, yep, this will not go to trial in 2026. It's going to be well after Christmas when this goes to trial. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, at this point, they've delayed it already twice. So, you know, why not delay it again, right? But I will say, I would be very curious to know who the prosecution is going to bring up for their very first witness. And this preliminary hearing could be like, you know, it's going to be like a mini trial. So it could last a few days, could last a few weeks. I don't think it's going to be too long, right? But Okay, so Goals said Google funds cannot cause the inmate's total account balance to exceed the $300 limit. So basically, no more than 300 on the books. Okay, that makes more sense. But yeah, there was a screenshot on Reddit where somebody showed that they deposited 500. So I'm not really sure if it's true or if that screenshot was manipulated or fabricated.
With the evidence in this case, the amount of evidence, I understand there was a closed door hearing as well. I mean, do you have any sense about what
Oh, come on, Raina. You can't tell us that you see documents, but you can't say a lot. You should just say it. Nobody's going to watch this. Nobody's going to watch this show. So you should just, you should just tell us.
delay is about?
Yeah, that is exactly right. So they started the court proceedings a little bit late today. The entire thing went on for 4 minutes, but the judge sat down and immediately told all of us that there was actually a closed door in chambers hearing this morning ahead of the scheduled status conference. So she met with both sides. She met with the prosecution and the defense. And apparently, defense made a motion to continue or delay the preliminary hearing. Now, the judge indicated it was because of some kind of evidence that came out during the discovery process.
Wow. So this could be this could, shake things up, right? But it was the defense who filed this motion and they're asking for something in secrecy. So, Joe, I'm very curious what thoughts you might have on what this motion could potentially be, or what are a number of things that this motion that they filed could be, because apparently this was top secret, super secret, and they didn't want anybody to find out. So they decided to take it into the chambers and have a little meeting in secrecy. So, Coco Mom, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your $20 super chat. We appreciate you. If you are going to sleep, please make sure you have a good rest of your evening.
She says, the judge says, the court decided there were grounds to continue this case, to delay it to July. But beyond that, we don't actually know what exactly in the evidence led to this. I imagine it might have something to do with just the amount of data. We talked about that last time, how the prosecution started uploading evidence from hard drives seized during the investigation, and days later, they were only about 10% through that upload process. What we were hearing was it was 40 plus terabytes.
Thank you so much, Coco Mom. Thank you so much for your 5 gifted memberships. We appreciate you. If you received the gifted membership from Coco Mom, please make sure you thank them in the chat, please. Dilla Dank, I see you got one. What up? What up, Dilla Dank?
And that does include video evidence, photos of Celeste and the defendant.
Thank you, Coco Mom. Good night.
So I imagine just the volume of data that still has to be sifted through has something to do with the defense calling for this delay and the prosecution agreeing.
And look, what's difficult about it is we don't know what the defense is going to do. We don't know if their defense is going to challenge the timeline. We don't know if the defense is going to challenge the cause of death. But, there is a question of how much they're going to fight the allegations of this sexual abuse material allegedly found on his devices. And, maybe they need more time to form an argument. They need more time to prepare, because in a preliminary hearing, like we've talked about before, this case had gone to.
So Goal said, I was thinking maybe the witness is Celeste's family member, Esmeralda, who is Celeste's cousin, by the way, had firsthand knowledge allegedly about David and Celeste, allegedly, right?
Allegedly.
Right. So, that's a good point, right? It could be, because we do know that Esmeralda knew the two of them were together, right? It was mentioned before, and SF Investigates posted a Build-A-Bear certificate that was found at David's residence that wasn't picked up during the investigation, but SF found it once he was brought in. And yeah, he posted it on X, and basically it had Esmeralda's name on it. So that's a little odd, right? Why David was in possession of a Build-A-Bear certificate that had Celeste's cousin's name on it. It's also been mentioned before by SF Investigates that the family knew, right? He didn't really specify in a particular interview that he did. But then in a separate one, he basically was saying, you know, it was Esmeralda. And the reason why we know that is because he mentioned the Build-A-Bear certificate. M. DeBose, thank you so much for your $9.99 super chat. We appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. So thank you for this donation. I appreciate it. Oh, they were in Vegas together as well. That's right, for that show. They were at the Caesar's Palace, and there are photos of that. Celeste, I believe, was with family, and I don't think it was just Esmeralda. I think there was more family there as well. But there is a photo of them at Caesar's Palace, which is the same time David was performing out there. So if they call Esmeralda, right, and it's a good point because they were saying that the prosecution has to make sure that that witness is available. So who could it be?
Grand juries where it's one-sided. It's only the prosecution presenting evidence. No indictment was returned through that grand jury. So there was questions about why that was. But now it goes to a preliminary hearing in front of a judge. The defense has an opportunity to challenge this evidence, to hear what the prosecution has and to challenge it, see where the prosecution's going with their case. But we don't know how the defense is going to do it. And so going back to what you mentioned, whether or not this is an advantage for the defense, as somebody who's been covering this case for quite some time, I want to read you real quick what Steve Fisher posted on X today after this hearing.
Good, because I was about to show it, but if he's going to show it here, even better for us.
So Steve Fisher is a private investigator who's been looking into this case. He was hired by the owner of the property where David had reportedly been staying, a property that's reportedly near where that Tesla was recovered, with obviously Celeste's body allegedly found inside. So he wrote today, the preliminary hearing in the David case has been continued until July 21st. He is presumed innocent in the eyes of the law, but as a human being with a brain and the ability to think and perceive, I have to say this. This is not how I would expect an innocent person to direct his lawyers to act. If I were innocent and had been sitting in jail for months on charges I did not commit, I would be telling my very high-priced lawyers, no more delays, get me the bleep out of here. But that is not what is happening.
Y'all like that,
Julia,
though, huh?
Look, from a legal point
I added that little censor. That was me.
of view, I'll just give my 2 cents. Look, I get what he's saying, right? If the prosecution, if he's really innocent, then you would assume that the prosecution's evidence against him is really weak. Put their feet to the fire, have an immediate preliminary hearing, which is kind of what I think the defense initially wanted. We'll challenge the evidence. We'll get him out. That'll be that. But the other way of looking at it is...
But also at the same time, I don't think... Well, maybe the defense might be prepared, but I think that the prosecution has more than enough evidence to take this to trial. Right? There's enough probable cause to take this to trial, and that we will eventually have enough information, enough evidence, enough eyewitnesses, key witnesses, expert witnesses to testify to get a conviction at the end. And hopefully he would be guilty on all 3 charges, right? And if that's the case, the death penalty is also on the table. So I think... I don't know. I'm curious if you guys think David has a chance in this. What do you guys think?
You know, you got to prepare a proper legal argument, and you need time to look at what the prosecution's evidence is. So how do you see it, whether or not this delay is actually an advantage to David and his defense team?
Nay, Preacher, how's it going?
I think there is so much evidence against the defendant here, Jesse. I don't really know if there's any kind of advantage for his case. I hate to let what's happening in the court of public opinion, leak into what's actually happening in the courtroom, but it is an undeniable fact that there is overwhelming evidence against David Anthony Burke here. Otherwise, prosecutors would not have brought this case. Now, there are questions as to why there was no grand jury indictment, but we have seen the 9-page preliminary brief now, the charging document, if you will.
DJ See No Evil, welcome. How you doing, my brother? You said I never wanted to put this out there, and I won't, but I will say this. SF needs to be careful, as he does got something wrong when it comes to the family. Just say that I heard what's going on before she went missing. man, I'm be very curious to know what it is that you believe that SF got wrong. So hopefully we can inform him, right? I mean, unless it's something that he went public with. So I know. And it seems like a lot of people are now drawing the conclusion that SF may have been wrong on more than one occasion, right? But again, shout out to SF Investigates, because if it wasn't for him, we'd be all in the dark before this trial, right? First Liberties podcast said Steve is 100% wrong. With this much evidence, any lawyer would want to take more time, and I'm not sure why this was continued confidentially. And I'm out of characters. Dang. Okay, you can send another message. You're good.
Laying out what the prosecution's side of this is going to look and sound like in courts. And even some of that material that can't be presented to the court, you know, they've described what that is, and that's part of that 40 plus terabyte volume of data that was dumped during discovery on the defense. Now, from the attorney's standpoint, I understand the more time they have, right, the more options they can consider, the more research they can do. From David's standpoint, from the defendant's standpoint, he's the one sitting in jail. I don't know how much longer he really wants to be there. Again, he did not look good this morning. He clearly has not been sleeping well behind bars. So his attorneys, his team probably sold this to him hard. You know, the more time we have, the more we can look into this, and this.
The more time we need, the more money we can charge you too. And, you know, we want to run up that bill. So then by the time this actually goes to trial, we can drop your ass. And then you'll need a public defender.
And build a stronger case for you, because he's not just facing one felony charge. This is not just a murder case. He's accused of 3 separate felonies. One of those felonies has special circumstances that make him eligible for the death penalty.
That's a first degree murder, right? That's a capital murder charge.
Even though executions have been halted here in the state of California since 2019, it is still legal for the death penalty to be a sentence considered by prosecutors. So there's still a question mark as to whether the prosecution is going to go down that route. But serious case here, I imagine they just want more time to figure out what in the world they're going to do to fight this.
And look, there is a more
LM said conflicting reports on David's demeanor and effect from this morning. Everyone else was saying he seemed confident and upbeat. Yeah, that's what a lot of people were saying today. And it seems like that's the general consensus with, you know, mainstream media and everybody that's reporting it. But it's funny because the title of this says disheveled David's messy appearance stuns the courtroom. And I don't know if anybody was really, you know, stunned, and was he really disheveled? Did he really look messy, or was it just the white undershirt that looked large on him, you know, on his tiny little body? But yeah, people were saying that he winked at his team. He was looking into the crowd, not something that was very typical or you know, within his character since he's been behind bars. But yeah, he's looking up, he's looking around, you know, looking at the public. So I don't know. Mystical Magic, how's it going? Welcome.
moratorium on executions. Although I will tell you this is what I wanted to really ask you about, because we knew that this wasn't the preliminary hearing today. We knew we weren't going to maybe find out all the evidence, but I was hoping we would get a preview. I was hoping we get an idea of what we can expect at the preliminary hearing, because this is a case that has been shrouded in secrecy since September of last year. We're looking for bits and pieces of information and evidence. So when this preliminary hearing potentially happens, whether it's in July or it's pushed off, what are you looking out for? Are you going to be saying, you know what, Jesse, I really want to see the actual substance, the actual content of the text messages between Celeste and David, not just the descriptions of them by prosecutors. I want to know more of the explanation of that Santa Barbara trip. Jesse, I want to see the surveillance video of David allegedly driving the Tesla? How about this? How exactly are prosecutors going to prove
Did they
that
just blur out the Hello Kitty mascot? They just said, nope, we ain't showing Hello Kitty. Okay.
How about this? How exactly are prosecutors going to prove that they know that he watched her bleed out in his home? Dude, is there surveillance? Is there an eyewitness? What about?
Maybe that's who is going to be their witness come the status conference and the preliminary hearing, right? So July 21st is when the prosecution has to check to see if their witness is available. And so if their witness is available, they could push this into the prelims. So we'll see.
The DNA and the forensics. You know, there's a part in one of the prosecution's filings where they say inside the garage, detectives discovered evidence consistent with the dismemberment of the victim's body in the inflatable pool, which contained multiple linear cuts. Several biological samples, which tested positive for blood, were collected within the garage area. DNA analysis determined that various samples matched the victim's unique genetic profile. So what are you looking out for? What do you want to see in this case?
I'm looking for all of that, Jesse. And in addition, I'm curious about who the prosecution is going to call as a witness. Now, the DA brought that up this morning. The prosecution brought that up this morning. They said they had to check with detectives. They had to check with their witnesses before agreeing to a status conference timeline. They did eventually settle on that July 7th date. But yeah, I'm curious about all of that because the wording in that preliminary brief is so interesting. Prosecutors state so much of that as facts, which obviously raises the question, well, how do you know? How do you know the defendant stood by and watched his victim bleed out? I mean, two options come to mind immediately for me. Either there was a witness who is claiming that, or there must be surveillance video. And yes, absolutely. I am curious about
if there is surveillance footage of this actual thing taking place where we can see that Celeste unfortunately loses her life. Like, this should be like the easiest open and shut case of all time, right? But I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think that, you know, this is going to be an uphill battle for us to climb. And the prosecution really is going to have their work cut out. Obviously, we have one hell of a defense team with Blair Burke and one hell of a prosecution team with Beth Silverman. So I think it's going to be another showdown. We know that they've gone heads up before in the past. And, you know, Blair Burke could probably be out for blood. And she probably wants to solidify one win over Beth Silverman. So I think she is going to fight tooth and nail when it comes to this case. And who knows, right? They may have something up their sleeve that can tarnish any of the witnesses' statements. So don't forget that any of the witnesses that they could call up could be potential friends of David, right? So not only do these witnesses know stuff about David, I'm sure David knows stuff about his friends or anybody that's testifying against him.
The text message exchanges between David and Celeste. We have all read now the descriptions of those text messages, how some of them have made reference to things like Plan B, abortion, pregnancy, sexual activity between the two. We have not actually read those messages. I'm also curious about the final argument.
Mystical Magic. Miss y'all, I feel so out of the loop. End of school activities for my now former kindergartner, now first grader. Well, congratulations on that. And congratulations to your little one for progressing on to first grade. And then on top of that, losing a very dear friend suddenly and unexpectedly. Well, our hearts go out to you, our condolences, and we hope you are doing well, Mystical Magic. Just know that, you know, the Inner Circle family sends you all the prayers. So our condolences. Hope you're doing okay, Mystical.
Of them had. The one that went on before David allegedly ordered an Uber that brought Celeste from her family's home in Lake Elsinore, more than 80 miles away, to his rental home in the Hollywood Hills. before her phone went dead and she went missing. So there's so much of that evidence that sounds like it was preserved on devices. In addition, right, we've talked about the chainsaws that David ordered from Amazon that were sent to his address.
Not just one, but he had 2 chainsaws, right? He had 2. So I'm very curious. Did he plan to ask somebody to help him, or did he order one separately and realize that that one had a cord attached to it and proceeded to buy a second one that was cordless and battery operated? Who knows?
I'm curious about all of those things that have been referenced now. When do we get more information about where this is going and who is going to take the stand as a witness to add color, to add dimension?
Yeah, and look, a couple of things there, right? So in a preliminary hearing, you would imagine it's not all the prosecution's evidence that they have, and sure, they get more evidence as they go to trial, but it usually be like the lead detective to kind of summarize everything that they have. But also you have to think about this, right? The conversation that David allegedly had with Celeste to allegedly lure her there, that goes not only to the idea of motive, that goes to the special circumstances, lying in wait, killing a witness for financial gain. She had to have said, I'm going to ruin your career. I'm going to go to the authorities. I'm going to expose you. So what do those messages exactly say? But also, before I let you go, Julia, cooperating witnesses. I don't know if there's anybody from David's inner circle who is going to testify against him, anybody who may have had a role, who may have aided, who may have abetted, who may have facilitated, anybody who may have assisted him in any way with based on the allegations that he's facing. We haven't heard that he's had any help, but one of the things we have wondered, is there an immunity deal? Is there anybody, a cooperating witness who will testify against him? Have you heard anything to indicate that whatsoever as we now wait for the next part of this case?
That's something that I'm really curious too, right? How many people could have potentially received immunity in this case, right? Some of the suspects, potential suspects who have been brought up in this case have been one of his friends, Asia Collins, another one of his friends who is influencer, streamer, Neo Langston, who, you know, we've had some possible run-ins with his family making comments on some of our videos in the past saying that he had absolutely nothing to do with it. He's also come out publicly and stated that he's got all the receipts. So does that mean Neo ratted on his once upon a time good friend? He's saying he's got all the receipts, and we saw that he was arrested in Montana, he was extradited back to California to Los Angeles, showed up 2 days later at the courthouse, testified or not testified. We don't know if he testified, but we know that he was there for 30, 40 minutes. And a couple days after that, he put out a public statement on his close stories regarding his involvement, which he claims was none. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if Neo really had anything to do with it, or if this person, Neo Langston or Asia Collins or any of his friends, right? Another person that's been brought up is Celeste Herrera, which has been coined. She's been called like the stand-in decoy or David's, you know, girlfriend. But we don't know that to be true. And I think we're all going to be curious to know, you know, what the relationship was between Celeste Herrera and his manager, right? Let's not forget Rob Morgenroth testified, and he was grilled in front of the grand jury for what TMZ claims 3 days, right? So that's going to be really, really crazy. Joy, welcome, welcome, welcome. Side note, I have the benefit of the doubt. It's Neo. I think Neo could potentially be one of the biggest witnesses in this case. And if he is going to be testifying against David, there could be some major bombshell new information that we haven't ever heard before. So it's going to be a sight to see, you know, whoever this witness is that they call. And I know we can't wait, right? They show the receipts, right? Exactly, Jerry. if Neo's got the receipts, show the receipts. I don't know. We might just have to wait though.
I have not heard anything about an immunity deal, Jesse, but it's what we haven't heard that raises more questions. People in David's inner circle, people who've been shown in photos with him at concerts, in his live stream videos, who've been on his social media, many of them are now very tight-lipped and making moves to distance themselves from David. That tells me they're not supporting him. And it wouldn't shock me at this point if any one of them struck some kind of immunity deal with prosecutors.
That's a good point, DJ See No Evil. You said just look who ain't there supporting him when the trial starts, is you cannot be in court if you are a witness, right? And that's been something that was discussed a lot during the Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony case, that Hunter was not in the courtroom during the entire trial. So it's going to be a sight to see.
To share what they know. Now, I do want to point out that David has a brother who allegedly met Celeste when she traveled with him out of state, out of California.
Not only out of California, but there were reports that he also traveled to London. So if she traveled to London with him, we need to see some receipts too. Show us the receipts.
It sounds like she went to...
Because if that's the case, then why hasn't the FBI been brought in, right? So Raina is saying someone definitely got an immunity deal. I'm telling you, Raina, if you know something, just say it. Just say it. Nobody's watching. Nobody's going to watch this. You should just say it.
Texas to meet his family. David has a little brother. So very curious if he ends up on the prosecution's witness list, and of course, what he has to say about his family member.
Yeah. Julia, thank you so much for being our eyes and ears about what's happening in that courtroom. I mean, I could go day and night about how much I think it's a problem not to have cameras in every courtroom in this country. I think they should be everywhere, but I really appreciate the absolutely fantastic reporting. And I'm sure we're going to be having this conversation again in July. You know, hopefully we'll have a status conference. Hopefully we'll have a preliminary hearing, because as much as the public and we are looking for answers, it's really the family. It's Celeste's family that deserves answers. They deserve to know what's going on here, and hopefully they get those answers sooner rather than later. Julie Dang, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
That was Julie Dang and Jesse Weber on Sidebar. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to transition over to Trapmore Ross's video, because he was there inside the courtroom. And as you guys know, Trapmore Ross has been following this case since day one, also keeping this case alive. So let's go ahead and hop over to his video and see what he's got to say about it. And a smash burger does sound good, you guys. Smash burger does sound good. Who said that? Was that Coco Mom? Neo flip like a smash burger? Whew. Smash burger does sound good. You guys, I'm on this. I'm eating clean and healthy. I've been back in the gym. So that's another reason why I've just kind of been away. We're just trying to get back into good health, eating healthy, trying to lose weight. So obviously, I got to put a lot of time in the gym. So please forgive me for not being here as often as I want to be.
Outside with the press and the media. It's a bright day today. I'm not going to lie. I'm very, very bright. I'm getting cooked by the sun right now. But it was a very, very interesting update today. And to be honest with you, I feel like this is actually the best date that I've seen him have in the court. I would say he looked quite confident. He looked quite happy. But there were some very strange things that went on that I kind of thought, I don't know if he was having a good day in court. So I'm going to give you an update. I made notes on everything, and it was super interesting. So I would say, I feel like David looked like he was in actually super good spirits today. I'm not going to lie to you. He looked like he was in super good spirits. He actually looked like he was feeling quite positive. What was really weird was that we all lined up and we all got into the courtroom. And I would say both lawyers, so Beth Silverman, the DA, and David's lawyer, Bleb.
For some of these podcasts, drink actual water, not Modelo's. Man, I haven't had an alcoholic beverage in over a month, right? And see, obviously right here, I got my Saratoga water, which I'm almost finished with. I've drank like 4 liters of water today, you guys. So I'm doing pretty good, right? 4 liters of water a day. Not bad, right? I'm 40 and I've never had a kidney stone because I've always had water in my diet. Well, I will tell you that the very first time I ever experienced kidney stones. It wasn't because I was dehydrated. It was because I had a very increased level amount of green leafy vegetables in my diet. And we know that because of the kidney stone type that was tested. So it's calcium oxalate, comes from a lot of green leafy vegetables, but drink your water. Water's good too.
Burke, they had a private conference with the judge that we later found out was sealed. They had a long conversation, and it was to the point where I see the DA, Beth Silverman, actually come back out of the private chambers, come and get some of her notes and go back in. So whatever was going on that was sealed was something very serious. And what I think is really interesting was that when they came back, it was kind of like, yeah, we're not really going to say much in the court today. We're going to save it for another day. But I think it was like something where David was having some kind of win or something positive. What happened was...
It's a win-win situation for you, Joe. Yeah, you win. Maybe that's what I should do. Just don't eat vegetables.
Went and had their meeting. They came back. They said, look, we just had a sealed meeting. We can't tell you what it was. They're agreeing for the reason, whatever the reason for that meeting was sealed. So that was top secret in itself. And they basically said, look, we're going to stay the preliminary hearing that we were supposed to have today to, I believe, July the 21st. That would be the full preliminary hearing beyond the status hearing. But there was rumors that today they were going to be discussing some really big stuff. I heard originally that they were actually intending to discuss the potential of the death penalty being on the table, this 40 terabytes of data, illegal videos, all of that stuff. We didn't end up hearing any of that get discussed today because they had some kind of secret meeting that everybody agreed should have been sealed. So it must have been something explosive. But what was really interesting was that when they came back to talk about that situation, what we then found out that was very fascinating was that essentially Beth Silverman, okay, the DA was basically said, I'm happy to agree to the July 21st preliminary hearing, but I need to check availability with my witness. So whatever it is that they were sealing that they were talking about, it probably had something to do with the fact that they're going to bring a witness into court on July the 21st. And Beth basically said, if my witness isn't available to be in court that day, then I'm going to stay that hearing. So she's probably going to come back with a witness, with somebody that has something to say about the case that's going to be actually speaking in court.
Wait, on the status conference or the 21st for July?
My witness isn't available to be in court that day, then I'm going to stay that hearing. So she's probably going to come back with a witness, with somebody that has something to say about the case that's going to be actually speaking in court in person. And again, that information was sealed. So we don't know what it is, but we do know it involves a witness and somebody that will be in court for that next date. Now, David, I'll be honest with you, he looked like he was in really good spirits today. I feel like he actually seemed a lot happier. His hair looked pretty...
Goal, you're not supposed to mention all of those. All of those I can't even have. I can stick to my water, though. And that's all I can drink right now. That and I will have an energy drink, not going to lie. But it's one of those like no sugar energy drinks, no calories. So I need it for the gym. Because we need that extra pump and that extra boost.
Fresh, like he looked like he'd had a decent fresh haircut. He kind of nodded along. He spoke to the judge a couple of the times. The judge basically said, you know, are you willing to change these dates? Are you okay with that? He said, yes, Your Honor. And he was very upbeat. He was very positive. He looked quite happy. Blair Burke agreed to this, basically requested that they do another status hearing on July 6th. Beth Silverman couldn't actually do that, so they ended up doing it, booking it in for, I believe, July the 7th. The next status hearing is. So I believe that will be in the follow-up hearing.
It's okay, go. I still love you.
The things we were expecting to hear today, which was rumored to be the potential of whether the death penalty was still on the table, the status of these 40 terabytes worth of content, which allegedly.
So I'm curious, you guys. Do you guys think that the death penalty will be on the table once this comes to trial, or do you think that the defense is going to find some way to get this thrown out? I'm really curious what you guys think.
That was the rumor. That's what they were saying was going to be discussed. So I feel like that was interesting. And the judge actually offered David a continuous prelim, which she explained what that was, basically saying that you have the right to request your preliminary hearing within 10 days of, I think it was within 10 days of today. Are you willing to waive that right so that we can do it when it all makes sense for us on July the 21st? He said he was okay with that. And the judge said, look, you're entitled to a continuous prelim where basically I will prioritize this case over all other cases.
Shh, don't say that. You can't say that here, Mystical. You can't say that. We're still going to drink our energy drinks. I can't help it. Can't help it. I need it.
I'll do this case first thing every day, and then any other cases I can fit in after that, but I'll have to prioritize your case. But basically said, would you mind waiving your right to that, and we'll do it when it makes sense for, you know, yourself, all of the lawyers and stuff like that. And he said, yes, Your Honor, in a very upbeat tone. He looked happy. He nodded along. He was looking into the crowd. I didn't catch his eye, but, you know, he was looking into the crowd for the first time. A lot of the other times he looked scared. It actually looks like he's kind of used to, you know, being up in that stand. Well, he wasn't on the stand, but he was sat there with his lawyer in the courtroom. And interestingly enough, he was kind of sat off to an angle this time. So he was much more kind of facing the courtroom. The past few times, he was sort of off to an angle. So imagine I'm sat in the crowd. David's lawyers are sat in the bench in front of me facing the judge who's in front of us. And then David was kind of sat off to the side, sideways. So he could sort of see the judge to his right, the crowd to his left, his lawyer to his left. It was interesting. It seemed way more casual today, and he seemed way more confident. So they were originally going to have this June 29th date. That's now been vacated. July 7th has been confirmed for the next status conference. So we were expecting to hear some big new information today. What we ended up hearing was that there are these kind of secret sealed discussions going on. A witness is going to be brought into the court for the preliminary hearing on July the 21st, which I think is going to be major. Now,
man, First Liberties podcast, if I'm back in the I am not going back to the hospital. No way. There's no way. I haven't been hospitalized since 2016. But that was the only time I've ever been hospitalized. And I did have to get surgery for my kidney stones because they were just massive. So we're not going back. We're not doing that again. No, no, no. It's going to be all water from here. So I think I have a goal set, a plea deal. I don't know. I don't know if the prosecution is going to allow him to plea. Right? I don't think they're going to accept it. And I hope they don't, right? Because if they do, they might just let him settle for something less. But no, I think it would be better if they just went to trial and took this all the way and just let the jury decide.
David was very respectful. He spoke to the judge kindly. It's looking crazy today. I just realized I'm frazzled today. I'm not going to lie. I'm really tired. We got up to get to the courthouse for the 8:30 a.m. start, which is, for me, that's pretty early. But anyway, David basically sat in the court for an extended period. And what was interesting is like everyone kind of left the court, but this time, kind of surprisingly, David was basically sort of just sat there for a while, and I just kind of lingered around as long as I could in the courtroom to just see what was going on. And I'll be honest, I feel like he had a very interesting attitude and disposition. He kind of looked very relaxed. He looked bored. He was kind of, I don't know if you've ever seen somebody sitting around, they're kind of going like, he had no word of a lie. He was sat in the courtroom just like, after that, and it really surprised me because I've never ever seen this guy look so relaxed. Even in some of his interviews and footages and vlogs from before he got arrested, I haven't seen this guy look so relaxed, so chilled out. He was just up, damn near kicking his feet. You know what I'm saying? He's not the tallest guy, damn near kicking his feet off the back of the chair. I mean, that's just the vibe that he was giving. But he looked way more relaxed. He smiled at his lawyers. He sat there in the courtroom for a while. He spoke to Blair Burke and everybody for quite an extended period of time. And, you know, it took a while for them to actually take him out of the courtroom. Damn near everyone but me and a couple of people that I was with and a couple of lawyers were still in the courtroom. They was trying to get us out of there. But I was trying to see what David's got going on. He sat here talking about.
That's funny. I wonder if David knows who Trapmore Ross is. That'd be crazy. And Trapmore Ross is just sitting there and waiting to see what's going to happen next. Ramona said, in my opinion, I believe that this case is going to take a while. I mean, you're not the only one. Ramona, First Liberties podcast thinks that this isn't going to start until, you know, early, at least after Christmas. So we've got what? We're in June, so another 6 more months of waiting. But I don't know. Can this judge hold out until after Christmas, after 2026 or early 2027? I don't know. I think she wants to get down to business, right? So July 21st, I think it's going to be, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this is going to be a good time to just start the trial.
It's actually a little bit eerie, to be honest with you. So, yeah, the fact is that, you know, basically I would say that it does seem like something big is coming on July the 21st. I think it is going to be pretty major. And I don't know what this witness is going to be brought here to do. I don't know if they're going to be brought out to maybe give some takes as far as some of the evidence. I don't know if it's going to be an expert witness. I don't think, I can't confirm for sure that they said this, but I feel like the way that they were talking about this witness, obviously it was sealed, but they were talking about, you know, making sure this person was available, sort of checking their availability. I don't know for sure, but it almost...
And mind you guys, if you guys remember going back to the Law and Crime video that we just watched, they were saying that there was new information that they got, right? So maybe a new witness and new information had just come up in the discovery or during the discovery of the evidence. So I don't know. Do you think that there was just some, you know, there was miraculously one, maybe, what if Caleb, what if the brother decided that I'm going to testify? and he knows everything. And that could be a game changer, right? If his brother decides, because we know that he's publicly come out and stated that he does not support PD files. So is there a possibility that he's decided to take this stand against his own brother? Right. And we all know that Caleb has a goal of pursuing a music career, and he knows because he experienced the backlash that he got on Reddit, right? That it was too soon. Anybody close to David trying to pursue a music career is tone deaf, not the right timing. Maybe this could be the only way that he separates himself. The only way for Caleb to separate himself from his brother so that he can, pursue this music career. I don't know, right? I mean, he's come out publicly and stated he doesn't support him. He thinks that all, R words should die. So I don't know. I have a feeling that this person is going to be really close to David if this witness is an eyewitness and not just like an expert witness. I think it's going to be Caleb.
Felt to me the way they were talking about them that perhaps this was going to be someone from law enforcement, somebody official, not a victim, not, witness testimony in that sense. But I think perhaps maybe it would be someone from law enforcement that will be kind of like presenting some of the evidence that they found, making it very clear like what they have going forward. And again, I don't know for sure. Obviously, I'm still learning how kind of the legal process works over here, but perhaps when they get to, those discussions about whether or not the death penalty should still be on the table, maybe we're going to see some law enforcement.
If Caleb is planning to testify against his brother, I'm very curious what the dynamic is now going to be between Caleb and his own parents, right? Because we do know that a couple of months ago that they filed the writ of habeas corpus so that they did not have to testify in court, right? But then months down the line, Caleb came out, put the post up, dropped music videos, and he's really trying to just separate himself from his brother. But what does that mean? What is that relationship going to be like between him and his parents if he actually does that? So this is going to be, if it is Caleb, and I'm just going to just put it out there and say that my best bet is that Caleb is going to testify. Maybe not at the preliminary hearing, but he will during this trial.
They're talking about, some details about the crime that may make him eligible for that kind of treatment. So all I'll say is that he definitely had a very confident disposition today. Never seen him looking so confident as I've seen him today. I feel like he was looking very shook, very scared, very kind of like timid. I don't know whether maybe he's used to being in court. I didn't actually make it to the last trial date, or not trial, but the last court date. I didn't actually make it to the last one. So I wonder whether now he's been in that courtroom a few times, he's kind of getting used to this situation. He's getting a little bit more relaxed. I mean, I swear, the way he was just like, I was very, very surprised, just the way that he was behaving.
If he was really smacking his lips in the court like a little kid, like I could just picture like David sitting on the sidewalk and his feet are dangling and he's like lip smacking the way Tremor Ross is explaining it. Like, that's crazy. If he really looked that bored in the courtroom, keep this guy locked up, right? Mystical Magic said they need to stop keeping everything so secret. We are all so invested in this case. We internet gangsters are the reason Celeste's case never got forgotten or swept under the rug. Very true, right? The internet has done a tremendous job keeping Celeste's name alive, keeping this case alive in the public. The Reddit has gone crazy. All the content creators have continued to make videos even when this case went quiet, right? So I think it's only fair that they consider, and I don't know what does it take for them to have cameras? Is this all just a judge's decision? Is there a motion that needs to be filed? Does the public have any kind of sway in that decision? Maybe Joe, you can help answer that question. I'm not sure. But I know we would all love to see this trial televised on TV, right? Court TV, whatever, wherever you can watch it.
Level of relaxation that I was not expecting from him, even at this point in the game, having 3, 4, or 5 court dates that he has now had. Also, what was interesting, we ended up getting moved to a much bigger courtroom. Honestly, it low-key looked like the courtroom they had the OJ trial in. I don't think it was the exact same courtroom, but it was a much bigger courtroom. I was thinking there was a lot more people in the public gallery, a lot more press today. I think things are picking up and people are kind of, you know, getting to know about this case a little bit more, and more people are coming to observe. So it did make me wonder if more and more people are going to be actually observing this case, if more and more people are actually going to be like watching along and basically, you know, showing up. And maybe they got to keep, I don't know, maybe that's how it works. They got to move to a bigger courtroom. They said there was some technical difficulties in the other courtroom, but I don't know whether that means technically, like technical difficulties.
Oh, I did read that. I did read that today, that there was some technical, or I don't know, some sort of maintenance issues going on with the original courtroom that they were supposed to be in. And so they had to make changes to move it earlier on before the court opened up. I don't know. Maybe I heard wrong though.
They wanted to have them and stuff. So yeah, man, that's kind of the update on that. I'm very, very curious to see how, you know, everything goes down at the next dates. Going to try and make it to those next dates and catch up with what's going on with that. But honestly, I was really surprised to just see his disposition, see his attitude and all of that stuff. You want to do a little interview? So I've got another person who is here with me inside the courtroom, and I'm getting blasted by the sun right now. But I'm going to just give you guys a little bit more of a insight and analysis. So just let the people know who you are, what we're doing here, and what you saw today. Let me know, and I'm going to give you a microphone. I'm going to hold it up to you.
Here, you want to hold my mic?
Oh man, I've only got so many hands. Okay, let's do it.
I'm sorry. Here, let me hold your nose.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Wait. Okay, let's go. Thank you. All right. So yeah, let me know who am I here with, and what did you think of the update today in the David trial, or
what's her name? Angie.
The court date as we get closer to the trial.
I'm Angie Smalls. I was in your video like a couple of hearings ago, but it was great to see you here today. It was really short. It was a status hearing. So I'm
sorry. Let me hold this one.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, both of them.
Thank you. Sorry. So I'm learning more, you know, as we're going into these court proceedings, and it was just a super short, again, status conference. They are gearing up for the actual preliminary hearing, which that's when the shit's really going to go down. Mm-hmm. The prelim hearing is they're going to start really presenting evidence. You know, I don't want to get too detailed because I actually am not like a legal analyst or anything.
Yeah.
But David's attorney was in good spirits. Mm-hmm. She was like in a great mood.
Yeah.
She's about to get paid. That's why.
Attorney, they both seemed like a lot more relaxed, a lot more kind of, you know, seemingly like positive about things today. Did you kind of felt that vibe as well?
Definitely.
You're right, Goal. And when they went to go visit him, they saw a photo of it looked like a yearbook photo on his phone. So
definitely. How do you think he looked?
I think he looked happy. I was just saying to the people, like, I don't know if you caught at the end, but he was sort of just like looking around, sort of just like, right? Just sort of like chilled out. It was really surprising to me that he was just so relaxed and that he would just kind of like, I was saying that perhaps, you know, maybe he was just really just getting used to being in the courtroom environment now. And, you know, the first few times I see him in there, he looked quite scared and quite confused and just a little bit stressed out. But this time he looked a little bit more in his element, like maybe he's getting used to his surroundings, perhaps.
Yeah, he's probably, you know, had a few performances behind in jail, you know. He probably got a few inmates that are like throwing him some money for a performance. Can you just imagine David in jail and the inmates next door are like threatening him to sing? That's just hilarious. And David just, you know, busting his flow or singing, that'd be crazy.
No, for sure. He definitely was in better spirits. His lawyer was in great spirits. I even heard her outside talking to this other YouTuber before the hearing started. And he even told her she looked well rested. Mm. And she's responded something like, life is short. Like there was no reason to be in a bad mood, apparently. So they're very optimistic.
For sure. Wait, let's step over here. I'm getting cooked in the sun. I'm getting absolutely cooked in the sun. That's crazy. It's a beautiful day in LA. I'm not used to this LA heat. Wait, here we go. This is better. Sorry, my bad. I was thinking I'm gonna be looking like a lobster in my next video if I'm not careful. But yeah, so I honestly, like, look, I caught a little bit of flack for saying last time that I thought Blair Burke looked a little bit frazzled, a bit tired. She looked a lot more on point today. David looked more on point. Like I feel like both of them actually seemed like they were both a lot more prepared, a lot more relaxed.
So David looked on point. No, Ramona, unfortunately, I was not able to. And I really don't know if I'll be able to just because of, my work schedule. It, because I am teaching, it's hard to skip a day of class just to attend court because there's really no other replacements for me to step in and teach for me. So, I mean, if there's a day that I can get off and it just so happens to fall on the day that there is court, then for sure I'll be out there. But I mean, if not, it's going to be really difficult for me to attend. So things kind of just changed recently. So I don't know. We'll see. It would be nice to be able to go out there, but the likelihood, we don't know right now. But if anything does change, I will absolutely let you guys know. So just make sure y'all are keeping up. So if you guys are in the Discord, we're still holding conversations there on a daily basis, and we got a lot of people that are still sharing, all the news. So we'll share the Discord link afterwards. If you guys are interested in joining the inner circle, it is a members only, so you do have to become a member, but conversation continues there. So see us there.
Beth Silverman still seemed very sharp. She's always so sharp, the DA. I would say that, she's giving quick answers. They're introducing themselves in the court. She's straight on it. Like, I feel like there's never any silence. Like, whenever there's a pocket of space, Beth Silverman's always got something to say, to jump in, to kind of, say her piece. So I feel like we were seeing both sides looking really confident. Did you kind of feel that vibe?
Yeah. The prosecution, I feel like they have a clad tight case. However, we really have only seen their side, but that's what David's defense team has, like a huge mountain to climb. And but it's always the prosecution to do the burden of proof, and we'll see what kind of defense they have. I mean, my theory is that they're going to say he did dismember her, but he did not murder her, which seems like an oxymoron.
That's the best they can reach for at this point, I guess. They're scary, but
the defense did say the evidence will show that David Anthony Burke is not responsible for the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. So I'm very curious to see what the defense has up their sleeve to try to combat that allegation, because right now all fingers are pointing to David was responsible for her death. He was the one who in fact murdered her, and he was the one who mutilated her body and dismembered her.
Obviously, me and you were just talking actually before we got into court, and you were letting me know there's actually a few other trials going on.
One
right
second,
here.
guys. I'll be right back.
Potentially even today or right now, we might have even just heard obviously a very big name that we follow from the culture that was having trial here. So maybe just let people know what you're working on, what cases you're following, and other trials maybe we might catch up with at this courthouse.
Yeah, so Street TV is in the building. They are here to check out the Young Jefe trial. I just dropped a video with Alex Alonso on Street TV. I got skewered in the comments because I told everyone that Young Jefe had a public defender, but in the hearing, his actual lawyer, they basically traded hands that day. So I was not all the way wrong, guys.
That is cool.
Sometimes it's like people get a
big
bit,
statement that they're gonna have to
precious about the details, but
they're gonna have to figure out a way to combat that allegation, right? I mean, if he wasn't responsible, then are they gonna tell us who it was?
Sounds like he started with a public defender, he swapped him out. You're giving people the real update. So what I'm saying, let's be kind and just remember who's actually out here working hard, giving you guys the facts.
Right.
But,
I was the only one in the room there as well, reporting on it. So it's like everyone was telling me what was happening. I'm like, I was the only one in the room.
Yeah, a lot of us, if you've been following No Jumper and everything that goes on over there, obviously Ant Jefe was really a fan favorite who was really picking up a lot of motion over there. So obviously it's so unfortunate.
That case is going to be crazy
We're really
too.
all waiting for big updates on that. So that's going to be going on at the courthouse too. Obviously we're waiting for other big trials like Lil Durk trial. The Big U trial, I think, got pushed to 2027. But, we're all going to be waiting for big updates on those. So yeah, just maybe I know you're here with Street News, but just let us know where we can find you guys and where we can keep up with the other trials that are going on here if you guys are continuing to report.
Yeah, no, follow me on my YouTube, Angie Smalls. So it's spelled with 2 E's and a Z, Angie Smalls. I also have Latin Affiliated, which is like a Latino hip hop channel. So we
That's her
do like
page right there.
local
I dropped her link
events
to her page
and
in the chat.
catch me around LA concerts and things like that. Yeah, and I do a little bit of commentary for Street TV. So yeah, that's what I got going on. Appreciate you guys watching this and subscribing. And
for sure, go and subscribe, go and follow everything that she got going on, everything that Alex got going on Street TV. They do a great job out here in LA. So yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And
Thanks, Trap.
hopefully I'll see you again very soon out here. And you know, whenever you can make it, it'd be great to see you there.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to see you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Let's do a little mic swap for real quick. Hang on. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up there. I'll give you guys just a little tour of just what's going on outside the courthouse right here. What we've actually got is the media is out here once again. Look, I'm not the best cameraman in the world. I'll keep it real with you guys, okay? But we got the media.
Oh, it's a small crowd. The last time that I was at the courthouse, it was crazy. It was that whole entire floor was covered in cameras. That's crazy.
You're out here. I'm going to try and even make this so you can actually see it. I'm getting cooked by the sun right now, but it's not as big of a media presence as I've seen here at the previous trial. But, you know, we're out here at the courthouse, man. It's actually a real historic place. So I do find it very interesting to just come out here and report. I don't know if is it too dark for you to see that? I'm going to try and just show you this plaque real quick, and I'm going to wrap it up because I do think it is very interesting. But we've got kind of, you know, there's a big plaque here with kind of respect to all of the judges that are out here that are part of what's going on. And honestly, I just find it very inspiring to actually come out here and report on this in person. So I'm very grateful to just be, you know, a small part of the press in this instance. But I can't lie, the cafeteria at the courthouse is fire though. I popped into the cafeteria earlier. They had some crazy food in the cafeteria. I was actually very impressed. But anyway, that is it from me. Okay, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I need to work on my camera skills, my vlogging skills. But thank you to everybody that's watching, that's been following, that's been trusting me as a news source for this story. As I said, we're all just waiting for justice to finally come for Celeste. You know, rest in peace to Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And we really just want to see, you know, this situation come to its conclusion, for justice to be done, and for, you know, everyone in LA to just feel safe, for everybody to feel like their children are safe. These people out here allegedly grooming kids on Fortnite, it's no good, you know. And if anybody caught it, I did do a long video about how there's really a scandalous situation going on with people, not just David, but, you know, other people allegedly that, you know, have used things like Fortnite and Roblox to actually connect with minors and, you know, groom them. That's allegedly what's gone on here. And I think when we get to it in court, we're going to be finding out how Fortnite was actually a big part of how this ended up happening. And, you know, I wonder whether any accountability will actually end up finding its way to some of these platforms that actually connect these grown adults to minors in a way that unfortunately ended in such a horrible way. So I hope you.
That was Trapmore Ross. You guys have just dropped his link in the chat. If you guys haven't followed him already, make sure you guys give Trapmore Ross a follow. Obviously, he's putting out daily content on a ton of stories, including the David and Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. So make sure you drop him a follow. But yeah, I think in some recent news, you know, we did learn that slowly there's a campaign to get David off of social media, whether that's on Instagram, TikTok. We learned that David recently lost his TikTok account, or his TikTok account is no longer up and running. That's been deleted. There's a campaign to get his music off of Spotify, to get his channel on YouTube demonetized. Who knows if that's going to happen, because his record label probably has a big hand in that as well. What else? He was recently dropped from his label, and I think that happened late 2025, but it was reported like mid 2026 or early 2026. So I think, you know, the longer that this goes on, the more that these bigger companies that are platforming David are going to slowly realize that, you know, they gotta let him go. So we'll see. Obviously, you know, this is not far, not over by a long shot, right? We've got a lot of time left before we see any kind of results in this trial, and we're just gonna have to wait. And the next date is when is it? July 6th for another status conference, and then July 21st for what we're hoping is going to be the preliminary hearing. Although First Liberties Podcast and Ramona think that this is going to take place very long after 2026. So we're going to have to wait and see, right? Let's see. So many children are being harmed, says it's all gone wrong. And I absolutely agree with you. LM says, why does this guy remind me of Cole from 90 Day Fiance? Does he? Cole? July 7th. Sorry, you guys. Sorry. I said July 6th because that Tremor Ross said July 6th. But July 7th and then July 21st. And then hopefully the prosecution can bring this witness, whoever the witness is. They can bring them and they can show up. So I think it's going to shock us, whoever this witness is going to be. My bet again is going to be maybe his brother. I don't know. I want to know who you guys think down in the comments. If you guys are watching this on the replay, I want to know who you guys think is going to be the first witness that the prosecution is going to call for this preliminary hearing. But yeah, you guys, I've been on for about an hour and a half, and I want to start kind of keeping these lives a little bit short, so then that way I can start doing them more often. So also, for those of you guys that are on the Discord, you guys, I know it's slowed down a little bit, because I've been mainly covering this case, but I do want to host like a game night on some of the nights that, we're not doing a live. So if you guys are down, you guys are interested in doing like a game night, I have some games that we can play on the Discord. So I want to know if you guys are open to that. Okay, some people in the chat are saying Neo. That's going to be a good one too, right? I wonder if it's going to be law enforcement. Could it be a close friend like Asia Neo or Celeste Herrera? Could it be a family member, right? Could it be the brother, Caleb, aka Karakova, aka I just want to be a musician, right? First Liberties Podcast says the preliminary hearing is only to decide if this is going to trial. This could have been over and done with by now, and we could have moved to police reports. Game nights. What kind of games? I don't know. My buddy, I went to his place on his birthday, and we were playing these games that obviously they're interactive games, so you can play them on your phone, and like I can host them on Discord, and everybody can play from their phones. But I think you might need like 2 monitors or 2 ways of viewing, because there would be the game board and then your controller would be like your phone. But there's like trivia games, a lot of different kind of games that we could play, which is pretty fun. But if you guys are interested, we're thinking of doing like a game night. So if you guys aren't a member, make sure that you guys become a member. If not, you're going to miss out, right? But you got to be part of the Discord. So we're going to drop our link to the Discord right after this. So then that way, if you are a member, you guys can join the Discord. That's going to be it for me tonight, you guys. Thank you guys so much. It feels great to be back, although we had a very small crowd tonight, but I wouldn't have it any other way, right? It'd be nice to have more people, but you know what? I got to be more consistent with my streaming, and I totally get it, right? Our memberships have gone down tremendously, and so the more we're streaming, hopefully we can pick this thing back up. But if you guys received the gifted membership from Coco Mom, because she donated 5 gifted memberships earlier, also did a $20 super chat, and then M. DeBose with a $9.99 super chat as well. We thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you guys haven't already liked this video, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And yeah, hopefully we'll be back. If there's any other cases that you guys are following that you guys want me to talk about, let me know, because I've just been watching. I've just been viewing everybody's lives, and I just been super busy with work. But if there's anything that you guys want to talk about, let me know in the comments. That's going to be it for me tonight, you guys. Thank you guys so much. I'm Flojo. This is Filling in the Gaps, and we will see you guys later. Take care, everybody. Love you guys. Peace.